I always thought retirement would be peaceful, quiet mornings, strong coffee, and maybe a little woodworking in the garage. But if you told me I'd end up wearing a tactical jumpsuit, manning a custom foam cannon, and leading a covert driveway cleaning operation against the HOA, I'd have said you were out of your mind. But here we are. See, I live in a place called Willow Creek Meadows. Sounds lovely, right? And at ice in the surface. Manicured lawns, color-matching shutters, mailboxes all painted the same shade of patriotic pearl. But underneath all that beige uniformity is a different kind of jungle. One ruled not by nature, but by a woman named Dolores Pickering, the president of our HOA. 5'0", always in a salmon pantsuit, and carrying a clipboard like it was a weapon. And in a way, it was. That Tuesday started like any other. I was in the yard trying to install a fence with the kind of precision that would impress NASA. I had my laser level out, triple-checking the angle, because apparently in Willow Creek Meadows, a deviation of more than 0.05 degrees meant a $75 fine. My wife, June, leaned out the kitchen window and asked, "Are you building a fence or launching a satellite, Hank?" I told her the difference between order and chaos was one unlevel post away. I was elbow-deep in the dirt when it happened. A loud crash, the kind that rattles your ribs. I looked up just in time to see a massive candy truck jackknife at the entrance to our street, slamming into the Willow Creek sign like it owed it money. Then came the smell, like 1,000 melted lollipops stuffed into a gym sock. And the goo, thick, blindingly pink syrup started pouring out of the truck. It flowed down the street like a neon river, threatening to stain everything it touched. Now, most folks might have just watched in horror, phones out, hoping someone else would do something. But me? I run a small business out of my garage, Suburban Emergency Solutions. Most people laugh when they hear that. They think it's overkill. But when you see pink industrial syrup oozing toward your neighbor's flower beds, you stop laughing. I sprinted to the garage, suited up, and fired up my Riga-modified Ford F-250 with a custom-built decontamination foam cannon in the back. June just shook her head and said, "Try not to foam the Petersons' cats again, okay?" By the time I rolled onto the street, things had gotten worse. The fire department had arrived but wasn't moving. Why? Because Dolores Pickering had parked her golf cart across the road and was blocking them. She was holding up her clipboard like it was a badge. "You're not on the approved vendor list," she was saying, "and your truck exceeds the allowed axle weight." I parked a safe distance away, climbed out, and approached the scene. The fire chief looked like he was about to pass out from frustration. I introduced myself, gave him my card, and offered a solution. Dolores spun around and narrowed her eyes. "Mr. Weaver," she sneered, "your vehicle is in violation of Article 6, Section 9 of the Appearance Clause. That foam cannon is not approved." I looked at her, then at the pink river creeping toward her own driveway, then back at her. "Well, Dolores," I said, "unless you want your rose garden to look like a unicorn crime scene, you might want to reconsider." She huffed, but the fire chief took a step back, silently giving me the field. I climbed into the truck, fired up the system, and let the foam fly. A glorious white wall of biodegradable, non-toxic Decon foam surged across the asphalt, halting the pink flood in its tracks. The neighbors gasped. One even clapped. Dolores, of course, lost her mind. "This is unauthorized landscape modification. I'm calling the police, the mayor, the National Guard." And she did call the cops. They showed up about 7 minutes later. 2 officers stepped out, took one look at the scene, and visibly deflated. Dispatch said this was a hazmat incident and a community dispute, one of them muttered. I was hoping they got 2 calls mixed up. Dolores demanded I be arrested. I handed the officer my laminated credentials, calmly explained the situation, and pointed to the foam wall preventing the syrup from entering the storm drains. The older officer, Michaels, his name tag just rubbed his temples and said, "It's soap, ma'am. It'll wash away." By the time they left, Dolores was fuming. But the damage was done. Or, rather, the damage was prevented. That's when Gary came running up to me. Gary lived 3 doors down and had the cleanest driveway in the county. Or at least he did. The syrup had stained it bright pink. "She won't let anyone in to clean it," he whispered like we were in some wartime resistance. I called 3 contractors. She turned them all away at the gate. Said they didn't have the right insurance for novelty colorant spills. I think she made that up. Gary looked desperate. His eyes darted to his house like he expected Dolores to pop out of the hedges. I clapped him on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Gary. We're going to get your driveway clean. I give you my word." What followed was less of a cleanup and more of a campaign. I spent hours calling contractors. Most hung up when I asked if they could operate under semi-permissive conditions with hostile administrative oversight. But then I found Frank. Frank was old school. His website looked like it hadn't been updated since dial-up. But the reviews were glowing. And when he showed up, he looked like he'd been carved from concrete himself. I explained the situation to Syrup, the stain, and Dolores. He listened, then said, "I've been trying to get work in this neighborhood for 10 years. That woman turned me away every time. You know what? I'm in." We planned the whole operation like it was a military op. I even drew a map on butcher paper in my garage, labeled everything with acronyms like AO, Area of Operation, and Easy, Extraction Zone. Frank just drank his beer and muttered, "You really go all out, don't ya?" The plan was simple. Mrs. Burroughs, an old neighbor with a grudge against Dolores, would hang an illegal wind chime garish, noisy, and completely against code. Dolores, unable to resist a violation, would rush over. While she was distracted, Frank's crew would roll in and clean Gary's driveway in record time. And it worked. For the most part. The wind chime went up. Dolores zoomed over in her golf cart. Frank's guys got to work. I launched my drone to keep eyes on her. Everything was going smoothly until one of Frank's new guys forgot to tighten a hose. A geyser of water shot into the air and soaked a patch of Dolores' prized lilies. She saw it on the drone feed. I saw her head snap around like a hawk spotting prey. She jumped in her golf cart and tore back toward the house. I yelled into the radio, "Bug out! Bug out!" Frank's crew scrambled. But Dolores cut them off, blocking the van with her cart. She started shouting about arrests and code violations. That's when I stepped in. I walked up calmly, opened my own copy of the HOA charter, and read aloud. Article 8, Section D, Paragraph 2. Emergency repairs vital to the structural or aesthetic integrity of a property may be undertaken without prior written approval if the delay would cause irreparable harm. I pointed to Gary's driveway. That pink sludge? That's irreparable harm. We acted within the rules. You just don't like that we beat you at your own game. She sputtered, red-faced, but had no comeback. And right on cue, Officer Michaels pulled up again. He didn't even get out this time. Just looked at the scene, shook his head, and muttered, "Son, you missed your calling." A week later, an email went out. Dolores was stepping down as HOA president. Her resignation letter blamed an erosion of decorum and the rise of anarchic elements in the neighborhood. But most folks saw it for what it was, a win for common sense. Gary's driveway? Pristine. The neighborhood? Quieter. Me? Well, a few days after the whole thing, I got a call. Some guy from another community said his wife painted the mailbox the wrong shade of white, and now they're facing a fine. "Can you help?" he asked. I looked around my Garrigate the drone, the maps, the Peacemaker foam rig, and I smiled. "Tell me everything you know about your HOA president's routine," I said. Because in the suburbs, the battle isn't fought with bullets. It's fought with bylaws. And sometimes, biodegradable foam. If you've ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA or fought back against petty neighborhood politics, drop a comment below. I want to hear your war stories. And if you like this tale of foam, fire, and freedom, hit like, subscribe, and share it with a neighbor who knows exactly what I'm talking about.